Welcome to episode 7 of the Green ThumbCast. Today we will be going over marketing and selling microgreens and effective marketing strategies to promote and sell your microgreens to restaurants, farmers markets, grocery stores, and direct to consumers. If you're just the first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can comment. It's on subscriber mode only, so make sure you subscribe and get there. And if you haven't already, like this video and share it out there to other people who might be thankful for getting this information and helpful them out. Hitting that like button helps us out the most, so we appreciate that highly. We will be doing questions and at the end of the show, so you can go ahead and put them in now. It helps to put question marks before, so we know it is a question, and after. And then we will bring you up, and we'll talk about your question afterwards. If you're a member, we actually get that first. Any live super chats, we do that as first as well. And if we have time, we will do members after that, or regular people after that, not members. So, we'll get into the show now. Joining me, obviously, as usual, is Andy and Robert. Andy, how'd your week go?
It went well. We looked at another space this week, so we trying to put in a letter of intent to try and get in there. Hopefully, in the next couple months, we'll see how it plays out.
Nice. And that's going to double your space or quadruple it?
Yeah.
Or what's that going to do?
Yep. Yeah, it would double it, and it would actually put us in a much better market as well, which is really cool. So we're excited. Hopefully, we'll be able to pull it off. We'll see.
Awesome. Robert, I know you're still in the process of moving everything to your new space.
Yeah, we're getting there. This week we'll be done. It's been a little bit of a challenge keeping it running and taking care of the day-to-day and setting everything up new, but I see some light at the end of the tunnel. So we're getting there, and then it'll be time to get out and solicit some new business and start pushing on these goals.
It's a big process to move a farm, so
much bigger than I thought.
I'll be looking for all the tips when you get done.
There you go.
Because we just signed a lease for 4,000 square foot location, 3,500 square feet of it for growing. So we'll be moving over there hopefully soon. At least by September, we'll take possession fully. We should have about a month to move ahead of time, but fully by mid-September, we'll probably be moved over there. So exciting times and ready to quadruple our business. So from where we're at, or almost 10 times really growing space. We only growing out 300 square feet. So you just figure growing space, it's almost 10 times. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Yeah. You guys motivated me. So I got to keep up with you.
Peer pressure.
That's right. That's the best kind of pressure. If there's the right one, right?
Pressure.
All right. The main targets for microgreens we'll cover today, obviously, as said, is restaurants. We got experts here in that, farmers markets, grocery stores, direct consumers, and market analysis and understanding the needs and preference for each individual ones, because they're all different. Each one's going to have a different thing that you're going to need to do with them and what products they're going to take and everything else. So first thing we're going to talk about is effective marketing strategies for restaurants, which Robert is kind of our expert. We've all do a little bit of restaurants, but Robert obviously does all restaurants mostly. So he's kind of the expert in that. Anything you got to say at the beginning here, Robert, on restaurants?
Just you gotta just go in and get in there. You want to show your quality product and be confident in it. If you're confident in your product, it sells itself. So, yeah, I mean, things you want to do is get in there at the right time. Things that'll help you have a better chance at success would be getting in there at the right time, bringing samples that the restaurant uses, and following up. That's going to be the main thing. Is going to be the follow up, because chefs, they have a lot of responsibilities and they like to delegate a lot of things as well. So you just gotta keep trugging along until you can get a hold of the right person. And sometimes you have to do some things yourself. Like I've had restaurants before say, yeah, we'll use you, but I have to get with accounting, and I'm like, oh, I'll do that. I can take care of that. Let me take that off your plate. So sometimes you're going to have to think outside of the box to get yourself in there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and with restaurants, you want to have the quality, the freshness, color. Most of them are going to be looking for that color. So you're going to have to grow them, which you can't see because the lights are off behind me. But the beets and the amaranths and stuff like that, they're going to be looking for cilantros, them longer, harder grows. So if you're just starting out, that may not be the road you want to go down, but they're definitely great to get into. And we're working on more and more restaurants as we go. So building a relationship with them, I think, is key. To keep them long term, if they know you, building a relationship. I'm sure you know that, Robert. About building relationships.
The good thing with that too is that in the restaurant industry, chefs. I mean, there are chefs that stay for a long time in some spots, but for the most part, they move around. So you build a good relationship with one chef, and he moves to another restaurant, and then he moves to another restaurant. Before you know it, one chef's gotten you into 3 or 4 restaurants, and we've had that happen for us already quite a few times. Other restaurants open up and chefs talk, and if you are doing what you're supposed to do and you're bringing value to these chefs, they definitely they'll let other people know because they want things taken off their plate. Specifically, had chefs tell me, hey man, you're the only person that I don't have to worry about. Like it's been good that we don't have to put in these orders every week and worry if we're going to get it. Is it going to not come this week and double next week? And it's a good industry to be in for sure. Chefs have been great to work with.
Yeah, definitely. They're consistent orders. They're ordering every week, which is what we want in this business. You want that weekly revenue coming in. Highly key.
Yep.
But in explaining that, when you're getting new restaurants too, you got to explain to them the growing methods and how long they take. If they're ordering a cilantro, something like that,
Yeah, usually what I'll do is I will, set expectations for the chefs for the beginning. So what I'll do is I'll go into the restaurant, I'll get all the varieties that they use, get a maximum amount that they will use per week, and then I'll say, hey, it takes me 3 weeks to grow cilantro, so 3 weeks from now, I'll have this amount for you available at all times, growing specifically for you, which they really do like that because, sometimes things do sell out and distributors don't have product for them, but for them to know you're growing specifically for them, they really like that, especially once you get, in the beginning, you want them to take their orders every time, but now that we have the space, and that we're growing these things that all these other restaurants like, I can say, hey, within 24 hours, if you do want to skip, which doesn't happen very often, just let me know. And I will take that, package it up, and go bring it out to another restaurant for a sample. So I have samples on hand without actually growing a ton extra. So just taking advantage of those skips and trying to turn them into something else, more
that's awesome,
recurring revenue.
Yeah, we just did that this past weekend. Yeah, we had one chef that canceled his basil order. It was only 2 ounces. So I sent it to another chef and said, hey, chef, I'm sending this to you free of charge for you to play around with. And he texted me back the same day and said, I want to swap out a cheaper microgreen for basil. I was like, sounds good to me.
Awesome.
That's how we did with the popcorn. We got a customer. We thought we had a customer that wanted popcorn. And then it's an 11,000 square foot restaurant, and they are not doing well. They had 20 covers in one night, so 11,000 square feet. So they said, hey, we're gonna have to pump the brakes on it. And so I had like 12 to 16 ounces of popcorn, and I took it out to like 5 or 6 different restaurants, and 3 of them added it to their order weekly. So I'm like, oh yeah, and I like the popcorn. That color really, really pops, and it's an easy grow, so it's not too bad.
Yeah,
and it's a quick.
Very easy to grow. Yeah. 7 days. I get ours done in 7 days. So
same. It's really quick, especially when you have those tall domes. They really want to touch the top.
Yes, they do. And
the day before we harvest, we actually tape the domes down with just like painter's tape or something, because it will literally lift them right up. So we tape them down the day before we harvest, just in case. Because if not, as soon as the light gets in there, it ruins the whole tray.
Yeah,
and it doesn't take long, unfortunately. And I wanted to add something too. We were talking about establishing a relationship with chefs. The other great thing is, as time goes on and you get bigger and bigger, you can actually talk to your chefs about what food distributors they're actually using to get their food from. And oftentimes they'll give you contacts that then you can reach out to and talk to those distributors to try and actually land a distributor, to actually sell your microgreens to as well. So that's one nice plus, about having your chefs in your back pocket and them really liking you. So just keep that in mind, build that relationship, and it could lead to so much more than just that one single restaurant.
Definitely. And another thing that I like to do is social media. They chefs like recognition. So I like to, I don't know if you've been on my my Instagram, but I do like to tag the restaurants and the chefs, and I use it more to highlight their food more than, our microgreens. But of course, the microgreens are on there, but it's also a highlight of the food and just, showcasing the restaurant. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely the way to go. We do the exact same thing for the same reason. I mean, it's another way to just show that you care, that you're involved in their business. You're trying to help promote their business while they're, potentially promoting yours. But regardless of supporting you, so it's the least you can do. Just share the stuff out there. Yeah, definitely a good way to go.
Absolutely. And what do you think as far as times to approach? I've definitely found between 2 and 4 for me has been, the best time. So you don't want to approach during lunch or dinner service. It's kind of a little crazy back there in that kitchen during those times. You don't want to be walking around back there.
Yeah, if you want to go in and definitely piss the chef off, then show up during lunch or dinner, and they'll never talk to you again.
And chefs are good to work with. I like to work with them, but they will get pissed off.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the nice
thing
is
kick you out real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what we've at least learned is that once you've landed their loyalty, you've got their loyalty for a long time. Like Robert said earlier, I mean, if they know they can rely on you and count on you, then if they leave their current restaurant and go somewhere else, they're going to pick you up, which is a huge, compliment to what you actually are capable of doing. We've had that happen too, Robert, to where we've had chefs leave and then they pick us up somewhere else. And then we still send to that old restaurant, just, hey, why not? What do we have to lose? And oftentimes they stay on. So basically get a free bonus restaurant and another chef to talk to. We've definitely talked to our chefs about, talking to other chefs that they know and, trying to work things in. And, even if you have to say, hey, if you give me an account somewhere else, I'll give you a week for free or so, something to kind of give them a thank you to help, spread the word about the fact that you're out there. So, it's definitely some ways outside of the box that you can think as far as dealing with your chefs. But overall, you just have to watch because a lot of them have egos and a lot of them think they're the best chef on the face of the earth. So just, stroke that ego nicely and they'll be all over it.
Eat the free food.
Yes.
For sure.
And remember, if they tell you no, it's not a no forever. It's a no right now. And you could get them later. Yeah. Keep going back in there.
That's definitely the thing for sure. And a lot of them won't even tell you no. They will go in a roundabout way. I'll keep going in until I get a solid no. Like one of our best restaurants, I went in 10 times before we were able to close them as a customer, and with free samples all 10 times, like within like a 2 to 3 month period. And I'm like, come on, man, what do I have to do to get this order? Like, I see you're using my stuff, posting it online and everything. Like, just let me get an order. And then finally it ended up happening. And now they order like 10 to 12 8-ounce rainbow mixes a week now from us, and they're one of our better customers. So it's just got to keep going. And like you said, if they do say no, you say okay, and then put it in your back pocket. Follow up in 3 to 6 months. Just drop back in. So say, hey, just updated my menu. Just wanted to drop it off. I know you already got somebody you're using, but if there's ever an opportunity for us to earn your business, we'd love to. So
And even if you didn't update your menu, tell them that, because they're not going to remember what your menu was.
That's always what he's going to pull my menu out and be like, it's exactly the same. No.
They're probably like, hey, look at this sucker. He's bringing us free samples every couple of weeks. We'll just keep this going.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I'll just keep bringing them free until you start buying from me. Just, I'm gonna post on my social media that those are our greens. So.
Yes, for sure. All right. Remember, our like goal today is 35 likes for the giveaway. So if you haven't hit that like button yet, make sure you hit that like button and put in hashtag Thumbcast. We're going to go with that hashtag Thumbcast for the giveaway. So make sure you get that in there. Any last thoughts on relationship strategies with restaurants? I think we covered everything there.
Just got to keep pushing, and you know, got to get out there and make contact in order to make something happen for sure. Because most of the time they're not going to come to you. You're going to have to go out to them.
Yeah, almost never going to come to you.
Yeah.
I think I've had to have
a
one-off.
But it feels good when you go out and get one yourself. It definitely is it's a good feeling to go in and close the sale and have that recurring revenue, put it into your spreadsheet, and it's like,
yes, it's a good feeling.
If you're just starting out, I mean, don't go straight for like the $100 a plate restaurant right off the bat. Start small, get yourself into something that you can handle, you know, and then the benefit is once you get into one restaurant, you can talk to another restaurant and say, hey, we're already in XYZ restaurant. We'd love to be part of your family, you know, and then just keep working your way up. And eventually when you get that really fancy restaurant, then you can tell everybody I'm in this fancy restaurant. They're all going to be like, oh, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. You know, so just don't go straight to the crazy high-end place. Just work your way up through that.
I don't know how it's been for you guys, but as far as like easier restaurants that don't really ever skip I mean, fast casual restaurants they've been like our best customers. So we have a chain of casual restaurants. It's like five restaurants, and they're all you know, $350 to $600 a month, and they just get the same thing every single week, and we've never ever had a problem. Whereas fine dining, they're like, hey, these stems are too long, or we want this, and we want our sorrel this size, and it's just like, okay, well, I'll do it. But as far as ease, the casual restaurants have been great, and they all get rainbow mix, which is what I want to sell.
That's even better.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Awesome.
I mean, the higher up you get in quality in the food, then they're a lot more anal about what they want. It gets really annoying sometimes.
They expect a lot, you know. They're charging people $150 to $200 a plate, and they don't want to just put some garbage on the plate, you know. They're trying to win awards. They want recognition, and they expect it to be good every time, just like they expect their food that they put out to be great every single time. So that's something to keep in mind for sure.
And my one last thought on it also, when you go in there and you've already solidified that business, ask them if there's any other restaurants part of their group, and maybe a different restaurant name that's part of their restaurant group, hospitality. And you can get multiples off of that as well. So don't be afraid to ask that.
There's a lot of that, definitely.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about promoting microgreens at farmers markets. I believe if you're starting out, this is the best way to go out and promote yourself and your business and figure out what works great for your community. You get to get a booth that stands out. We use green tablecloths. And everybody knows, hey, find the green tablecloths. That's who we need to go talk to. That's where the microgreens are at. Instead of just a plain old table sitting out there and just microgreens on top of them, stacked up top each other, 5 or 6 of them out at a time, make it attractive, make it look good, make it, bring them to your tent, make a reason to come over there, is highly important to me. Engaging with customers and asking them, hey, I seen you got broccoli last week, but you're getting peas this week. Did you like the broccoli? Did you not? You can ask them questions. It's direct response to them. So I love farmers markets. Roberts, you've never done farmer market, have you?
We actually started out with farmers markets. So maybe the first, now I would say the first 8 to 12 months of our business was farmers markets and home delivery. And we actually had a grocery store before we did it. We had a grocery store before we did any restaurants either. It just so happened that the money is in restaurants. I had about 30. I had about 30 home delivery customers that I got from markets and from doing some demos and things like that at gyms and health stores. And between the 30, we had about 1,200 to 1,300 a month in recurring sales. And then I just on a whim, after me and my wife went out to this restaurant, I shot an email to the chef saying, I saw, oh, they're only using radish, radish, and then like, it looked like broccoli and maybe peas. I'm like, oh, we can do all that. And so I shot an email to them, and they gave me their list, and I was looking, I was like, oh my gosh, like just this one restaurant's $1,300 a month, just
Nice.
4 deliveries a week or 4 deliveries a month. And I'm like, oh yeah. That sounds like
Going that way.
That was the start of us being like, okay, let's do that. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that, because I 100% believe that's where we should all start, as farmers markets.
I agree with that as well. I mean, the markets, they're good. I mean, if you're personable and you like to talk with people, I liked it. I did not like it. It was fun. It was a lot of work. And I've got 2 younger kids, so and I had a job as well. So the weekends were, I have, limited amount of work on, but markets, you can make good money. I know quite a few people other than us that are making good money doing markets. But you wake up at 6 and you throw your stuff in the truck, and you get there, and before you know it, it's 5. The market's only from 10 to 2 or 10 to 3, and it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and you're just rolling home. So we've got kids at different ages, and it's just like one of the things I wanted to do was to have my weekends, and so that really was our main thing for getting away from the markets. So, but nothing wrong with them.
Understandable.
You can make money at markets, especially if you get in some good ones. There's a lot of good ones around here too, a lot of them.
Yeah. And Andy, you started off farmers marketing your yard.
Yeah,
right.
And it was just us, so it wasn't really that exciting of a farmer's market. Yeah, I mean, we started in our yard, and all we did was set up a couple tables. We live harvested, which was the only time we've done that. Anytime we actually went to farmers markets, we just brought, prepackaged stuff, just because we were worried. Like at our house, it was, the traffic was minimal enough where it was really easy to manage that. But if you get to a busy farmers market and you've got 6, 7 people waiting in line, you're there forever harvesting their stuff. So it's a really great way to bring people in. So usually I would bring a live tray just to set out on the table, so that way they could see, what it looked like. But we did the same thing as you, Mike, with the bright tablecloths. We were able to find like the exact same green that's behind me and the orange that are, in our colors. So we've got, orange tablecloths and green tablecloths, and just put out, decorative things and whatever. I mean, it's, and pay attention to what, like, walk through your market and look and say, what table looks the best to me? Why did it draw me in? Why did it catch my eye? And think about how you can implement that into your own table. But ultimately, especially if you have 2 people, whenever my wife and I go, I'm usually out in the crowd. I'm talking to everybody, waving hi to everybody, saying hi to everyone. And my goal is to get them to the table where my wife can close the deal. So basically I'm out there being the personal one. She's very introverted compared to me. So it just worked out really well that way. But yeah, I mean, definitely talk to everybody as much as you possibly can. And even like if, let's say they're walking by and they've got like a shirt on from a college or something, just say, oh yeah, my cousin went to Auburn University or whatever. They aren't going to know if you're telling the truth or not, but at least it starts that conversation, so you can hopefully pull them over to the table and at least at minimum educate them on what microgreens are, and hopefully get them to try some. Samples are huge in the market, and then the goal would be to try and get them to actually make a purchase, obviously. But if you're not personable, it's hard.
Yeah, you probably had a cousin somewhere down the line went there, right?
I mean, you went there for a weekend, yeah. drove through the town, yeah. yeah. Wait, see the college, yeah.
Yeah, the goal is just to get people to your table no matter what it takes. I mean, because ultimately, if they don't come to your table, it's always going to be a no. But the hope is once you get there, you can talk them into taking some samples and trying some stuff. And one of my favorite things that's ever had happen was a really old guy. It was a couple years ago. It was in Chesapeake City near here, and he came over to the table. And he literally, under his breath, was like, "What the heck is this crap?" And I was like, "Okay, just taste some stuff." And next thing you know, he's waving people over to the table to come try it. So, that's all it takes is
lovely
change minds, and samples can do it. So be ready to hand them out for sure. Bring gloves, being in a hand washing station, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, it's like, lemonade, lemonade, the popcorn guy, popcorn, it's like, what is that? Are you selling plants? What are you doing? Yeah.
Do I take this home and plant it?
Yeah. So how do I plant this? I'm like, no, you don't. I plant it.
We plant it. You eat. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll
take care of that.
The always famous. Do I just eat this in salads? That's like 99% of people ask that every time we go. It drives me out of my mind. But yeah,
that's why we have a flyer.
Yeah,
we have a flyer on the table on how to eat microgreens. So there's a lot of information on what to do with them, and not just salads. So we always give that to people that don't know what they are or what they are. Give them that flyer. Plus, it gives information in their hand that they might have in that bag next week when they come back, because they probably don't empty their bag completely. And they're like, oh, yeah, the microgreen people. Let me go see them.
We had one of those. We had one of those picture frames that revolves the pictures, and just a bunch of different pictures with microgreens on all kinds of different food, because you would definitely exactly what I would have thought. Oh, it's to add on to a salad. For sure.
Yeah, we took all the questions that were asked to us all the time, and we created one of those big pull up banner things that you can set up, and that worked phenomenally well. It had what microgreens were versus sprouts. It showed them being used on different foods. It showed that they were, the whole thing we were trying to drive across was that we're making them convenient. Because you don't have to cut up a radish and slice it up. You don't have to cook broccoli and cut it up. I mean, just go bloop, bloop, right onto whatever it is that you're eating. It makes things super easy. So that was really the goal, was just to try and educate them, what microgreens were. And I was shocked by how many people actually stood there and read that sign. So it was definitely
better for you anyways with that, because you're answering the same question over and over and over again, and then it sounds like you're a robot, and you're not flowing and talking and things like that. So it was a good idea to get a little FAQ pull down and
it worked out.
Delegate the answer, the question answering to the sign. Yeah. It is. Read the sign.
Yeah, we have it displayed out front. We have it displayed out front in the shop all day, every day. And anytime anybody asks me a question like that, I'm like, well, look at that sign. I just get them to read that. I kind of walk them through it, and it's awesome. I think it's coming super handy.
Nice.
Yeah, super handy. Maybe that's something we could give away as a gift one of these times. And one of the things, I'll get that Illustrator file away.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's definitely farmers markets. If you don't do them, if you're starting out, that's a great place to go to start out. And we are still doing 2 farmers markets ourselves every Saturday. So they great bring income, great cash, money in your hand that day for the most part. Almost 80% of the sales is cash. So you're getting that money right away. You don't have to wait for it like you do with a grocery store or a restaurant where you're waiting for that money to come in.
I would recommend starting there. I mean, I know we do pretty much restaurants only, but it's like you want to get yourself confident with what you're doing, and if you're having trouble supplying a market once a week, you want to make sure you can do that before you jump into restaurants, because the same thing with, if you're good at it and chefs are talking about how good you are, if you're not, they will definitely they'll say the same thing, whether good or bad, they're talking for sure.
Yep. Yeah, and at farmers markets, if you don't, when you're first starting out, a tray of amaranth dies, if you're bringing that, it dies off. No big deal. You just don't have it available that week. If you don't have that for your restaurant, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So you want to get the practices down of how to grow everything, so you know what you're doing. And I use amaranth because of a story that recently happened to amaranth that we know of. So we won't talk about. We're moving on. Right, Andy?
I haven't gotten over the PTSD on that one yet, so thanks, Mike. Dreaming about amaranth dying tonight.
Still trying to get over that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was rough.
We've all been there, but probably not to that level, but we've all been there. On stuff dying off and not working right. So, but this is what we use farmers markets for, to practice. Yeah. Before we're ready to sell to a restaurant. So we don't sell anything to a restaurant unless we are 90% perfect on growing it, and we know we can grow enough to supply them. So we use that farmers market to just practice growing, even if it doesn't sell there. All right. Speaking of grocery stores, let's talk about getting your microgreens into grocery stores. These ones can be probably even somewhat more challenging than what getting into a restaurant is, because they have their set stuff already there. Their stuff that has to be in certain spots in the grocery store. So do they have room to have you fit in there? That's probably the biggest challenge getting into grocery stores, in my opinion, because they have their set things. They have to be here that the people pay for. You see that lettuce always in the same spot. That's because they pay for that spot. They're paying for them to display them. The end caps, people are paying to be there. So if they already got all their spots filled up, you might not be able to fit in there. But usually they're going to have a spot for local stuff anymore, because there's big pushes for that everywhere. It's local. So, but there's some things you have to do ahead of time to get into grocery stores. One, you need to make sure you can grow the stuff, just like we talked about for restaurants. Same thing for grocery stores. You want to make sure you can deliver every week to them and have the products available. Now, it's not as intense as products usually as a restaurant. You're not using beets at a grocery store mostly. Amaret's not going to be at a grocery store. That's going to be restaurant kind of stuff. You're going to have the basics pretty much at a grocery store. Easier to grow stuff for the most part. But it can be, some things you got to be challenging on this. So, Andy, you're in a few grocery stores, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the one big benefit of grocery stores is it's often, like Mike said, it's going to be a lot easier things to grow. You're going to be looking probably 14 days or less for most of what you're going to sell in a grocery store. So it's a great place to start versus restaurants, because once you get into restaurants, then you're looking at beets and cilantro and celery and carrot and all kinds of other things that are a pain in the butt to grow. So definitely try and work your way into grocery stores first if you're uncomfortable with growing a lot of advanced microgreens, for sure.
For sure. Things to know about grocery stores, you're going to need UPC codes so they can scan the product in at the register. You're going to have that. Have to make that easy for the grocery stores to put in there. You don't want to have them figuring that out and putting the code on themselves. You want to have that easy for them. Makes them easy for restocking products, everything like that. They know what they've gone through, and they can track that. So they know how much of your product you've sold. So you don't have to keep track of that, really. Hey, how many are we actually going through? They can get you that report, which is good. Demonstrate the value of locally sourced, freshly harvested. We put that on all our packages for grocery stores, so people understand what it is. Sometimes they'll let you put a sign up. Sometimes they put sign-ups for you and say, hey, this is grown right here in your hometown. Boom, they'll put a sign up for you big above your display, by your display, because they want that local kind of feel to bring people in. How fresh they are going to their produce managers are usually easier to deal with than they are at restaurants rather than chefs, somewhat easier. And you can go in pretty much anytime they're there. They're not going to be so busy that you can't talk to them like a restaurant. Definitely want to be going between lunch and dinner. Produce manager, you can usually catch them in the morning, but they're not going to be so busy dealing with the customers that they can't talk to you for a few moments. So they're easier to get into and talk to them as well. But definitely a little bit easier. I love grocery stores. That is our bread and butter. We probably 85% right now, grocery store heavy on everything else. And we did do a detailed video for our microgreen business coaching course that we did. Detailed video on how to get into grocery stores, everything you need to know from the start to the end, everything with the grocery stores. And this goes highly detailed. It's like a 30-minute video and teaching you everything you need to know about grocery stores. So if you want to go deeper, we'll give you the basics here, but if you want to go deeper, definitely check out our microgreen business coaching course. And Jess will throw a link in there for you if you guys want to check that out. And right now, she's also going to put in there that we're going to have a 20% off code. So you can get for 20% off. She'll put what code it is in there in the chat for you. I think it's podcasts, pod steps, something with podcasts in there, episode 7 something. So she'll put that in there. That's 20% off the monthly. You get it for 1 month, 20% off. If you want to do the yearly, you can get that for 20% off. And if you want to do the lifetime one, also can get that 20% off, which is a great deal at 20% off. So, and that lifetime or unlimited. I'm sorry, I can't say lifetime. Who's lifetime? Unlimited is there. So you get all the biweekly coaching calls and anything that's updated with the courses. It's constantly updated. As I said, we just getting done with that one for grocery stores, so you can check that out. But anyway, back to the grocery stores here. Andy, do you got anything you can give advice on here?
Yeah, I mean, as a store owner now and having to deal with UPCs and restocking, it's not a total necessity. We have some places that don't care if you have UPCs, but we personally want them on our stuff. And having now been in the position of somebody who has to stock things on a regular basis for the store we have, it's a giant pain in the butt when there's no UPCs because then we have to print our own and apply them, which means you have to create it in a little UPC system, print it, put it on every single product. Let's say they're dropping off 200 of something. We got to put 200 little labels, put it on every single one of them, and hope that they sell. So it's really a pain in the butt. So if you can get UPCs on there, it makes their lives so much easier, especially when they know every week it's the same amount of stuff coming in consistently. It makes it super simple for them to update the stock on their end. So it's an added convenience for them, so that where they're having to pay an employee to spend the time, labeling your product. So definitely get out there and get those UPCs if that's your plan. It's not a bad thing to have, regardless, because even if you get into convenience stores or it doesn't have to be a big grocery chain or anything like that, just anywhere that's going to sell your stuff that has any kind of a barcode scanner, they're going to love the fact that you have UPCs. Definitely a big plus.
Yeah, and you can get them pretty cheap. I think it's upcs.com. Jessica put that in there, but they're very cheap. They come out to about $1.50 or something like that per label. I know you can go real expensive and spend $15-$20 per code. So $5 a code. So just you don't need to spend all that money. You don't need one that you have to register and put on there and everything else. That's not what we're doing. You're not a big company like Heinz who wants their all that registered and everything like that. So don't go expensive. Just get a code.
There's a difference between the two, the cheaper one versus the more expensive one, because we were in one grocery store that didn't require UPCs, so I never had to look into it.
Lucky.
But that was something that was like, oh, when we're trying to think of ease of running the business, I'm like, well, that seems like something I'd have to research. So let's try a different route.
Like they're all unique codes. No, nobody can have that code. They're all unique codes, but like the more expensive ones will register you, and it'll be out there registered underneath your name. I don't know if that matters because it hasn't mattered for us.
Just like
but we just use the ones. Yeah. Just an extra step, just an extra thing they're doing. I don't know, Andy, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I could say one thing for sure. I mean, we went the expensive route with GS1, and their website is really clunky. It's the one thing I don't like about them. But when we started approaching a distributor that we've been talking with recently, they actually asked us, do you have all your UPCs through GS1, because they can pull all the data right from GS1's system or whatever. I'm not sure how it works, but basically you can put all your information, weights, and descriptions and all that stuff into each product. And they have, like the larger distributors have ways of literally just grabbing that information. And that way you don't have to provide it all, which is super nice. So that's probably the only real benefit, though. I mean, if your plan is just to, stay in small grocery stores for the most part, you're probably going to be safe going the cheaper route. When we did our research, a lot of people recommended GS1, so I didn't even bother researching it much, because a lot of people that are like high end, people were like, yeah, this is the one you want. I'm like, okay, cool. So, and it wasn't terrible. I mean, I think it was $750 for the first year, but you got 100 UPCs, and I think every year after that it's like $100 or 150 or something like that. So, the upfront cost sucked, but after that it wasn't really awful for what we're getting. But yeah, to know that they've got ties into major systems is kind of nice. But if you're not going to plan on going that route, then don't worry about it.
Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much grocery stores, the synopsis of it. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into that. Like with all the stuff that we talk about, there's a lot more that goes into this stuff, but we only have so much time we can go over in a podcast on things. So that's where you get a course and go deeper on stuff. We got our course. I think I just seen Andy. Did you just release something?
Yeah,
also
nothing crazy yet, but I've got it set up to where you can do a little consultation calls with me for 30 minutes or an hour. So, yeah. But that's that way it's kind of open-ended. There's no course set up yet at this point, but it's just kind of like an open-ended conversation. We can talk about whatever. So
that's awesome. So if you guys want to check that out, look Andy up. I think it's on his Facebook is where I seen it. So check that out. We'll see if we can get a link put up for him as well on that. So definitely he can help you out in a lot of things. So check him out as well. So all right. As I drop the tablet. next thing is direct-to-consumer sales and strategy. So this is also like step 2, I think, in growing. Like you go to farmers markets and then you go direct to consumers, and you get a lot of direct to consumers off of farmers market if you're trying to get that. Is a very good way. So it's a user-friendly way of getting people. It's also can get them on a weekly subscription, $20, $25, $30, whatever you're charging for that. And you can set it up and they're going to deliver every week. They are some negatives with home deliveries, vacations being one, not leaving a cooler out be 2, stuff like that, that it can be a pain to deal with home delivery people, and you have to deal with multiple people. Rather than one grocery store to sell 100 packages to, you got to deal with 20 people to sell that to. So it's more levels, more people to deal with, more things to deal with, more payments. But they are a great way to start your business along with farmers markets and direct consumers. So they can be good. I know, like Robert just said, he did a lot of that. Andy, I think you did as well.
Yep, we still do.
Still do. How many do you do? Yeah. Do you know offhand?
I don't know. It's probably like
100?
20 or 30. No, it's not bad
20,
at all.
30, okay.
Yeah, most of our business is like the distributor and restaurants and stuff and grocery stores at this point. So we have just a couple little home delivery folks we keep on board just in case, but it's really more just to have a diversified portfolio. Obviously COVID too comes along and all the restaurants shut down again. Robert's going to be figuring something out real quick. But the people that get their stuff right at their house, they're not going to stop getting what they get. So, and any grocery stores, obviously, like that's where you're safe, Mike. I mean, they can't close down. They were essential businesses. So it's good to have that diversified portfolio just in case. Oh, I think we might have lost Robert.
Yeah, thought we maybe for a moment. He'll be back, I'm sure. We definitely went that route with grocery stores because of COVID. To be honest, I had heard the story of David from Micro Acres. 99% of his business was restaurants, and it was Harvest Day when everything shut down in Canada for him.
Oh man!
So he had 300 trays worth of products that he had no place to go with it. What did he do? Now David's a smart man, and he got on social media and asked people for help, give him big discounts to the community. And he got to sell almost all his products to home delivery, to consumers come picking it up, stuff like that. But, most of us might not have that option of being able to have that much of a clientele built up to be able to sell it to somewhere. So if you're heavy into restaurants or heavy into one thing, you can get in trouble. You can get in trouble if something happens again. So if that didn't teach us anything, it teaches us to diversify, like you said, and getting home deliveries, restaurants, grocery stores, markets. And here, farmers markets was an essential business as well, so they stayed open as well. Some rules and regulations had to come in to stay open, but they stayed open. So, did your farmers market stay open?
No, they definitely shut down. So we weren't able to do any farmers markets for the first, I think, just over a year that we were in business. There was none available to be in. But to go on the customer side, it's not bad to have, because ultimately you can say, hey, where do you guys shop on a regular basis? And do they have microgreens there? And if they don't, you can actually potentially have your customer, if you have a good enough relationship with them, actually talk to the produce manager and say, hey, I've got this guy, he sells me microgreens, they're really good, I wish you guys would have them here. And that's actually how we landed our first grocery store. It was one of our regular subscribers. He actually approached the grocery store and he said, look, and he didn't even tell us, he just did it on his own accord. Nice. Which was great. So, he basically sold the grocery store for us, which was awesome. That all I had to do was drop off some samples and then, get an order set up. So it's definitely not a bad thing to have those people out there fighting for you as well. Plus, like when you share your restaurant pictures and stuff like that, they know, hey, those restaurants are actually supporting my friend that I'm buying microgreens from. I'll go shop and go to their restaurant on purpose because they have, they're supporting my microgreen farmer. So it's definitely not a bad thing to have those people in your back pockets as well. They can definitely help you out. Plus, honestly, you'll make some great friends, seriously, like good local friends, from some of your subscriptions for sure. You won't find any of your friends will sign up, but the people that you don't know will sign up with the friends. Pretty much how it tends to work.
Isn't it funny? Like your closest people that will not support your business be people that you don't know will.
Yep.
Usually how it works.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way.
We were very lucky in the beginning. We had great support from our family. They would buy our subscription service and everything else. We delivered to them. Then I found out my sister was not eating them. She was just giving them to her chickens. I'm like, no, I don't want you buying them if you're just giving them to your chickens. Buy them and eat them. I want you to get nutrients and stuff. That's the point of this. So, but they wanted to support it, so that was good. So we did have a lot of great support from our family in the very beginning. So they kept us afloat in the beginning. Between doing Market Wagon, which was an online farmers market thing that we delivered to, and our family members. And then the farmers market. That's what kept us in business. So if there are any of them are listening, thank you for doing that. So we appreciate that highly. So we were very fortunate in that aspect. So. But yeah, direct consumers can be great. Recurring revenue. You got that weekly revenue coming in. If you get 10 of them, you're $200 in revenue coming in. If you get 20, you're $400. If you're selling $20 a pop to them, that can add up fast. It can be a great source of business. But again, there are down draws, 20, 30, 40 stops, 20, 30, 40 people to deal with. Different things they're going to have to deal with. Besides like a restaurant or grocery store, you can go drop $200, $300, $500 off in one stop in revenue. But they're out there. They're a great source, and diversifying is key. If you can go all 4 avenues, have a little bit splattered at least, so you can pivot if we have to, if anything happens in the world again, is key, I think. So we all need to be diversifying.
That's definitely good. Like for sure, even small customers. I mean, you have one big customer, they pretty much control your business. You want to be able to lose 10 customers and still be fine. You don't want one. The higher percentage they have of your income, the more they pretty much control you. So
yep,
yeah, you definitely get.
Or
that
if they fall off.
Yeah,
I mean, if you land a 6-figure client, distributor of some kind, and then they find somebody cheaper than you, now you're out $100,000 a year plus. Yep. We ran into that with the first one that we got. We started, I think it was like $1,500 a week or something like that, or per delivery. It was 2 times per week. It was a huge client, nice. And they cut back. They lost one of their biggest restaurants, so they cut the order back by like 60%. So we lost like $60,000 a year in one day. So just keep that in mind. The more big clients you go for, you have a lot more chance of making a lot of money, but you also have a lot more chance of losing a ton of money overnight. So just some things to keep in mind as you're going. That's why it's good to have that diversified portfolio just in case, because if you're only tackling distributors and next thing you know, the guys out in California get their crap together and make good product, that's going to be cheaper than yours potentially, then, you're out of luck, a whole lot of money. So yeah.
They may make good products, but they may not deliver it.
Yeah, no, they don't do either, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here from the exact same company.
But me and Jeff's wife talk about that all the time. Like, we are in 22 grocery stores, which is the main part of our business, and 7 of them grocery stores is one chain. So what happens if they decide, hey, we don't longer want microgreens? That's a big chunk. So I always look like we need to be adding business. If I didn't add business this month, it's a bad month, regardless of what we're doing. Add business every month. And then right now we're kind of tapped until we do move. So we've kind of been slowly not adding, but if something comes along, we add it. But so, once we move, it's distributors full floors. We're going after that big time, and more grocery stores and more restaurants and stuff and everything else. But definitely, if it's not a good month if you don't add business. That's my opinion.
Yep.
All right. Next topic is sustainable marketing practices. So this is going to vary, in my opinion, per area. So like let's talk packaging, because that's what everybody talks about with sustainability and everything else. So if you have a compostable facility near you that people will actually take the products to, get compostable products, 100%. If you do not, get recyclable. Once recycled already, so they can recycle it again. Because if they take that compostable product and they put it in for they put it into recycling, it's going to go to the landfill instead of getting recycled. And it's going to take longer to break down and everything else. It's going to be worse for the planet. So you guys got an opinion on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we tried compostable a couple times, and then we were like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't even work in this area because there's nowhere that you can take it to have it composted. Yep. So yeah, I mean, we've tried a couple plant-based options, and the packaging was just not where it needs to be yet. I'm hoping some point that somebody will come out with a good quality, plant-based or something product that we can all use I mean, I know it drives me crazy having to use plastic, but it is what it is. It keeps it fresh the
Yeah.
longest, so it's just the best option there is right now for the time being. But yeah, if you can get recyclable, go for that. If you have a composting place, like if you're in California, something like that, where there's one nearby you, then definitely go that route for sure. I would agree with that.
Completely agree. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like the best option for shelf life is, and I guess it just really depends too on who you're supplying. If you're going direct to consumer, like you're doing residential, they're probably more wanting plant-based packaging compostable, whereas restaurants really care about shelf life and how much how much of this product am I going to be able to use. 100%, 80%. The packaging really will make a big difference with shelf life. So.
And we looked at plant-based ones, but most of them are made out of corn, and you have to be careful because some people are allergic to corn. Because we had a lady ask us when we first started, she goes, "Is these packages made out of corn? And are they recycled? What are they?" We're like, "Oh no, they're just recyclable." And she goes, "Oh good, because I'm allergic to corn. I can't even be near it. I touch it, I'm gonna be breaking out."
Wow.
So there's also the risk of that you got to think about with people too, that you may lose a consumer because of that. But so yeah, you got to be careful with that too, with the allergic reactions and stuff. So
yeah, the one plant-based company, I'm not going to name their names, but we tried one and we had 8-ounce packs, and we literally had to tape down all 4 corners to keep it from popping open.
Wow.
And it was very frustrating. So we're like, nope, this is definitely not worth it. We ended up tossing them all and going right back to the normal stuff.
At scale, it just gets to a point where your options are very limited.
Yep. Very limited on that. So specific to your area, if you got, that, like we said, use it. But most of us are not going to have that. It's going to be California and maybe some New York area and stuff like that. But closest one to us is like 3 hours away. So it doesn't make sense. All right. So any final thoughts, guys? I think we pretty much covered everything that we were looking to cover today. So
yeah, I think so.
Yep, I got it.
All right. Awesome. Great show again, guys. Really appreciate it. I think we're a little short on likes for the giveaway. We were trying to hit 35 for that giveaway. And it looks like my count, it looks like 23. Let me refresh. 24. If we reach 30, I'll do a giveaway during the Q&A. But we're going to end the show for the podcast here. Appreciate you guys all tuning into episode 7 of the podcast. We'll be again back here next week at 4 p.m. Central, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for watching. And you can check out the next videos over here that's for you, or you can rewatch some more of the podcast. And we will see you in the next one. All right, on to Q&A session.